Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this morning's episode. Cherish your advanced vision. Now, how we distinguish what is an advanced vision compared to a regular vision? Here's the thing. At some point in my life, for example, in 2014, I got a vision for these talks before I gave them. I got a vision of the channel and everything, and I just trusted that feeling and I went with it, and it ended up becoming something bigger. I think an advanced vision is like a probability or you have access to from your inner realms. I find it interesting. Based on the impression the psychology of the child gets, if the child feels they're imperfect, the child moves towards perfection. If the child thinks he's perfect, the child will become ignorant of the imperfections. Excuse me, guys, had to handle something. All right. Cherish your advanced vision. Pretty much know the value of your eyes while you have them. When I think about advancement, I mean, every person has a different concept of what advance means to them, For example, if we think that the people in ancient times were wiser, if we behave more closer to ancient times, we might feel we are more advanced, you know? I feel that we have to look at the human being and wonder about the scope of vision. And so the human being has a vision in front of the eyes, which is the outer realm, and a vision behind the eyes, which I call the inner realm. These realms are dependent. The advancement of the vision is how far the inner reality, the inner life, your inner life has authorized your outer life to happen. Because people feel they're not just themselves, they feel, for example, I've been acquainted with various crowds that they were pretty much theosophists. That you don't know how many people I've met in this life who they have felt they have been in contact or communicating with an invisible phenomena behind the veil of their perception. That's again with the comfort of the inner realms. It's like if you can't realize you are behind your eyes, then you have no other option other than to see it through something else that you trust, a trusted archetype. For me, the cool thing is that vision has to do with sight, and the content of sight is imagery. Therefore, the vision, the inner image suggests how advanced whatever action in front of your eyes is being done, how far it will advance. There has been times where I thought that advanced vision means a vision that has seen all angles, a vision of ultimate perfection. But again, after getting acquainted with Buddhism, it's very obvious that the perfection man can seek as a natural being in the environment is one where he's conscious of his symbiosis with other forces of nature. That means if we think that we're advanced, but we're unaware of the phenomena around us, the nature around us, or only just the machinery we're aware of, we're not aware of the nature, I wouldn't consider that to be an advanced vision, you know? An advanced vision comes from an advanced being. An advanced being is a being that's aware of their advancement, who is aware of more possibilities on the hierarchy of how manifestation can project. You know, a lot of people wash their face when they wake up in the morning. And I wonder how many people wash their mind, you know, wash the face of the mind beyond language. On some level, a lot of nature is happening on its own. Whatever we claim, it's as if when I was born, I was given. It was as if the DNA was given, it was all there. You know, it's as if we open our eyes in an already functioning system. And then we have a choice of navigating the system. That means we don't have a choice of being born, but we have a choice after we're born. You know, that means life to some degree is not based on man's will. That means man's will is not the dictator of how nature moves. Nature moves, and man's will has emerged from that movement. So any advancement of vision will have to come back to uh, the first step, kind of like a round circle we see in Zen. You know, I thought about it, and one day I got shocked. I got shocked that if human beings did not speak, there would be no story to the world. There would be no story. There would just be uh, similarity of sight without language. The fact that we can communicate as beings means that two people could be in an art gallery and they could see the Mona Lisa, and then they can discuss, they can talk about how their eyes are evoking reality in that instant. Hmm. What can really be said about life? There's so many unknown variables, and everybody has access to whatever their design grants them. And really, you have to advance your inner realms and your outer realms. The inner realms experience should be advanced, the outer realms existence should be advanced, we can say. That means in front of your eyes, the advancement has to do with the nature, with the effect of existence. Behind your eyes, it has to do with how experience is being caused. I remember in 2016, I'd gone to Iran after I was in India for 2 months. I went to Iran, and my, you know, family on the father's side, they all lived there. And so I remember a relative of mine, a distant relative, we he comes and picks me up, and we go to this park. We go to this cottage. Usually, I mean, in every country in the world, people are partying. They're just partying in discrete spaces, you know. And so, anyways, we go to this cottage and to in Shomong, part of Iran, and there's a swimming pool and whatnot, and just cottage vibe, and it's a bunch of people there. I remember there was this kid there that would endlessly, just from the moment we got in there, he was telling everyone how sick he was. It was as if the kid, the person had no other way of communicating what was real to them other than their own sickness. And the guy was like, I have this problem, this problem. And I remember asking him, and I'm like, why are you constantly telling the world, putting the image of your own inefficiency in the minds of of your environment? And guys, I have this strange habit. I mean, nobody in the you know for those who've kind of like in good times have been with me, usually when I'm at a party or something, I can be around the crowd for a certain amount of time. After a certain while, especially if I drink or whatnot, I feel I just walk alone. You don't know how many times there's been events where I've kind of been in the center of the fire and then just stepped out, and stared at the fire from a distance. Anyways, I remember I was alone, and I would sit in the yard, and I would just sit and close my eyes, and it's like even my cousin was like, okay, what is he doing? People are like, what, like it, because it in the middle of like intensity, I have a way I simplify it. What does that mean? That means many complex situations in my life, there's two options. Either you gotta go through that fire of complexity. There's no other option. The solution is direct engagement, you know, or you, in some sense, become a bit simpler. In the face of complexity, take one step of simplicity back. And usually, when my inner realms become stormy, I have to be just. I just gotta sit it down. I gotta wait it out. And the inner realms and the emotions, all emotions, by the way, can be waited out. Time, believe it or not, heals the emotional experience of the human being. Because emotion is the inner realms kind of trying to grab an outer thing, and usually when the inner realm is denied, the inner realm. I'll give you an example. A child wants cake, or a cookie, or something, cookie from the cookie jar, and the moment the child's about to grab it, so the parent shouts, "No!" Like a movie scene where imagine your comrades died in the battlefield and you're like, no! And so this kid gets so startled in that moment, the kid begins crying. It's like this raging no is heard. And why does the kid cry? Because in the inner realms of the child, the kid had access to the cookie, but in the outer realms, the child was prevented. So the child is left in two states of mind where in its inner realm it wants to eat the cookie, but in its outer realm it can't. And so there's an emotional sort of clashing of the waves, you know? And that's what I'm telling you. The waves of your inner realms are believe it or not, constantly hitting, the shores of your outer realm. And when you want the outer realm to be like the inner realm, you suffer. But when you are okay with the inner realm adjusting to the outer realm, you don't suffer. You just go along with the ride. And that's the best thing you can do. This life is not like a mathematical equation on an exam where, there's only one correct answer. It's a dynamic thing. It's like recognizing that you are not a thinker, but rather there's a river of thoughts where like an antenna are passing through you. We feel thoughts are from us, you know? But believe it or not, nothing is from us. We are the environment in a unique organizational pattern. We are the environment, uh, uh, we are nature's eyes in human form. And that recognition is very powerful because you realize that the outer realm has no obligation to listen to your inner realm. That means what you see this in psychology. I would say to myself when I was younger, I would get intimidated easily. Not intimidated. I don't want to say intimidated. I would get silenced, but I would get silenced because I didn't honor my own eyes. I didn't feel I could see the right thing. And just because of that feeling, I had missed out on years of my life being an active participant in it. Whoever's listening, this civilization, this society gives the wrong picture. And the issue with that picture is that it makes you feel you're just one picture or you have to be some picture on a wall. That is not the case. Again, look at life. It's a balance between unknown variables and known variables. And please tell me this isn't on mute. Okay, sorry. Okay, so welcome everybody, being human. Uh, Good morning. You share a comment. Fear is simply because you're not living life, you're living in your mind. Yeah. There's of course different kinds of fear. For example, you go ask a religious person, being human. If you go ask a religious person what fear is, they will tell you fear of God is wisdom. Fear of the divine will is wisdom. You see, guys, pretty much what's happening on the surface of this planet is that stories are living behind people's eyes, and those stories are actually them until they move beyond the language threshold and they could discriminate between what is the inner realm movement and what is outer realm movement. For example, in front of my eyes, I see the leaves of the tree being pushed by the wind. Okay, that's an outer realm activity. But when I think about the concept of the wind, the concept of the leaf, the concept of the tree, those are inner realm phenomena. And I personally can discriminate. This is why I think it was after 2000, pretty much 2014, 15, or maybe even before that, I reached a point, guys, where I wouldn't get upset with language. In my youth, I would fight language. I would let myself sink in. Somebody would come and tell me something. It was like wartime. But then I realized that language can't touch me. It never has. And so there is fear, of course. I would consider that fear is not even from man. Fear is an interpretation of a situation. That means, why is it one person is afraid of a situation, one person isn't? So fear is the processing. Whatever way the senses are being processed, that's how the fear is arising. Now, if we looked at it in the sense that there's some people, pretty much we're 8 billion creatures on a rock, I don't know, what is it, 1 billion the religious factions of the world, they feel they're being watched. And for a long time, I would look at an ant and I would be like, is there something, could I be an ant to the eyes of higher dimensions? And so I realized we can be, but the ant will never understand why the person is going to work. So the dimensional gap between our language being able to comprehend how we are an ant to a higher dimension, I have literally termed it inconceivable. What does that mean? That means it moves at a beat. That's why I created the term the language threshold. Some part of the experience goes back to uh, no longer being a dualistic relationship. It's either going it's going through the singular and then towards the void, or it's going towards the infinite. Certain situations, fear is crucial. Fear is like accurate, the accuracy of the information. Like the person that fears the stove, that's good because they have accuracy in their information. But if you fear something without knowing its consequence, then it's without knowing what it is, then you're fearing your own mind. And in that case, being human, I would agree with you. It is an inner realm of a phenomena, of course. Like the personality is an inner realm. It's like somebody asking you, how are you a person right now, bro? It's like, I don't know, I just am, you know? 4 billion years of practice, man, evolutionary practice, and I'm just a person flawlessly. Language is an advanced technology. Used in the right way, it can give you wings. Used in the wrong way, it can become a burden. It can become heavy. And this is the ultimate question. What is there beyond language? That means, could we potentially hold an advanced vision that, for example, this is a very strange thing, guys, but I'll tell you, people look at life, whatever the events that take place in this world, they look at it from the past going to the future. So when someone does something, you can look at how it's been based on the stepping stones they've crossed in their past. But I feel that you can see the future move towards the past. I'm not joking, guys. You can see this in the subtle movement of the moment. I can't tell you how many moments I've just noticed something not even major, some slight thing off in the moment, and I knew what would happen. This is a bold thing to say, guys, and I'm not just saying it lightly. I've had moments in my life where I knew what was going to happen, and I wondered why, how could I know? And I came with this idea that it's like the body's going, matter is going from the past to the future, but space is going from the future towards the past. Some poetic idea like that, that the nature of the mind is moving in reverse. What does that mean? That means that yarning we have is like how in it's like codependence of dimensions. What does that mean? We have night and day. We have a creature going from past to the future, and then we have a creature going from the future to the past. I feel it's an intersection point currently. What does that mean? That means we as the past are going towards an immaterial field intelligence future. But the future, which is a field intelligence, is playing it's going through its next cycle. I mean, you got to think about it like this. If a civilization becomes so telepathic, becomes so naturally aware of its nature, that, let us say, we don't need language anymore. We are all like one natural mind. We're like drops in an ocean in the future. So what happens? They evaporate. There is a massive evaporation process going on in life. And I was like, what is this? Are we bubbles at the bottom of a kettle where when the water boils, the bubble emerges and manifests and goes to the top and then suddenly isn't manifest. So I sometimes look at this world as if this is the only thing that's here. Oh my God. But there's sometimes I look at this world and this is not the only thing that is here. This is just what is seen to be here. This is the scene we are being an active actor in an experiential actor on an existential stage. You know, there's been, for example, Napoleon. This man was such a badass that it's like somebody questioned him on fear or something, and he's like, "Fear is a word in a fool's dictionary." And it left such an impression when I heard that, guys. I can't tell you how intense that was when I realized impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary, and I was thinking, why? Why is it in a fool's dictionary? Because the fool doesn't have endurance. I think this is what people have not realized. We are pattern recognizing, cyclical, habitual creatures. When you look at, for example, the gym. When people go to the gym, they're going there and taking their muscle fibers to failure, and when the muscle rips, they chug protein. They are going to change the habit. You know, there was this song by Linkin Park, the first album I bought, which was it was called "Breaking the Habit," the song. And so I think society, normality, whatever your whatever belief system you as a human being have, it has nothing to do with your ideology. It has to do with the patterns you've been living through so far. It's habitual, guys. We are not rational creatures. We are habit oriented creatures. That means if we make rationality a habit, it would still be like us trying to only paint in one way when the empty canvas allows for various ways for the meaning of the moment to be drawn. Sometimes you got to be a lion and fight for the decency of the moment. You know, that means you can say there's people who they are more open to being chaotic, and there's people who are more open to being ordered. So if you are, let's say, a gentle, simple, kind, passive, graceful soul, okay, and you realize you require to have an intensity of ability equivalent to the most chaotic. This doesn't mean you have to be chaotic, but it means that if chaos was a fire, you as a human being need to have the ability and the know-how of how to put it out. Okay? So what does that mean? That passive-natured person has no reason because the chaotic, the anarchist, has every reason to be chaotic. You know, the person who was straight of, who's gone astray from anarchy, that person doesn't have a reason to see chaos first. And let me tell you, if you choose to see chaos first, your cells, your biological cells, will align to that vision. So if you start destroying things in this world, your body is going to destroy itself because that pattern echoes. It echoes. I'm not joking. Whatever you do in this life, it is sculpting your next moment. Guys, I just noticed there's someone in the chat section named Being Human. So I'm going to ask Being Human a question. What is the difference between being human and the difference between human being? So Being Human in the chat section, if you're listening, I'd be interested about your answer to that. The difference between the human being and being human, you know? I feel that it's something strange is happening in secular culture, secular society, and the world is of course becoming more and more secular as technology advances. But I'm saying that the strange thing is that you go and see there's this $1 billion self-help industry where make yourself better, make yourself improve yourself, learn this, do that, learn that. It's like what's better than selling an object, you know? Some people say selling subjects. But the issue with selling a subject is that you don't see it either. There is a level of stillness that through that the veil of thought is broken. That car honk came at the most. I'm just thinking in the future. I don't have kids, but I was thinking if I had a son and my son was like, how do you move a subject? This may sound strange, but you have to shape it. A subject can't change. A subject is like a drawing. I don't want to say drawing with a permanent marker, but the mind keeps what is animate to it. That means think of as if your mind is a simulating device, and it simulates what is experienced. So imagine I'm drinking a coffee, then I'm writing science fiction, and I imagine, for example, there was higher dimensional beings are drinking universes in their coffee cup. So the idea suddenly is given an ability to stretch. Honestly, when I speak, I don't feel I'm giving a talk. I feel my attention is focused on a sort of geometrical extension of a line behind my eyes. Because I'm telling you, just like how you look at an object and it has a name for you, it has a subjective value for you, you can't drink the name or of the noun cup. You can't drink tea, you can't drink tea, you can't drink the noun. Do you see? So I think that we're just going through, the whole species is going through a metamorphosis, through it's like from language is a cocoon. From the third phase of evolution, the way I explain it at least, to the fourth. The third phase of evolution is where we are now, where it's the conscious self. And then there will be the conscious world. Language is the cocoon where the caterpillar, which is a conscious self, is going through, and when the being steps out of the cocoon of language, they will become, in some sense, a conscious world. That means enjoy every step you take on this earth, because there will come a time where you will become the whole earth. I want to read some poems for the audience. Poems I wrote in 2016. It's it's not that crowded in the chat section today. There's 2 people listening to this talk right now. I honor your being. Alright, guys, I'm going to read for you from this giant poetry work I wrote in, what's the date here? 2014. Pretty much, I was living abroad from Canada, and for a year I was away from my parents. What was I doing? Where was I then? I mean, I travel a lot, guys, but I mean, relatively. I don't know where I was. There was this time where oh yeah, I was in, what am I saying? I was in the UK. This was being, it says 2014. What am I saying? Uh, so guys, I was in the UK 2014, and for a whole year I would write mystical poetry every day. I don't know. I just felt I had the inspiration. I would write, and I would write it for my parents. So I for a whole year wrote poems every day, and I've put all those poetry words online. They're on Amazon. But I'm going to read you a poem from one of them, the one written on April. So this poem was written 04/01/14. Luminous beginnings. The compass is but a tool. What you use is used for you. There are cliffs with no edge. Such shapes are not unknown. Some life forms have not yet formed. It is your intention that opens the closest door. Feel the air pull you in, for such joy is not only found in space. There is a luminous concept that will engage your form, for once you have seen the breathing in this atmosphere, pressure is just weight welcomed when your back was against the wall. Your answers have found the answers you need. If they give you truth, would you be free? Relationships are formed without strings. The puppets of your desire have also loosened your strings. What may carry such weight that fingers feel like stone? Only the ground that is considered another world. For the floor breaks when an ancient memory is revealed. You were the source of freedom. What thought has kept this from you? This labyrinth might be small, but it has many walls. Would you cry if you discovered you were the ladder that needed to be climbed? These tears of joy are fond of you as well. Reunite with your highest self. It is within you, past the lies, waiting for the hammer of your love. For if dry leaves are considered as stone, then your feet will dream of a weight you did not have before. Your ancient bliss still stands today. It knocks past your pity or hopeless cause. Your end is not here. Why create a brick wall and call it death? Your end is not here. Why create a brick wall and call it death? The road goes on, just as you have. This is a long poem, guys. The road goes on, just as you have. The wondrous never stop, for a deeper spark has always begun. Be the mirror that gives life to the light. Be the mirror that gives life to the light. Guys, I'm going to read for you another poem. It's called Looks Unheaved. So guys, I don't know how many people, maybe those people who English isn't their first language, the word heave means to lift or haul with great effort. So looks unheaved, ways of looking that you've lifted with great effort, something like that. That's the title of the next poem. The snow has fallen into its home. A mountain has smiled for its new dress. In the age of transcendence, beauty is a catalyst. Work with love and find your heart in the life that does not stop. From the circle of life to the circles within the trunk, years become alive and breathe in many forms. Angels whisper in blue or white orbs. The lords of your future shall step out of yourself. You will find the stone table that was part of the mountain. Extend your reach. Let golden paint fill your walls. There was a time I thought such color could be drawn. What our light holds within it kingdoms of radiance. The kingdom of heaven wasn't a lie when I stepped inside. Past the barrows of my eyes, sight began to roar. Such joy only the king knows. There may be questions that wait in dark corners, but my light will show them to themselves. Ancients will rise in bodies of children. Such love can be felt past the body that feels. The master you seek will come to you. Be open and kind, for the student that such light seeks is one of a kind. Shapes may form new shapes. The space of your mind is still sacred. Don't let your books be covered by paperweight, for such heaviness is a mountain for the little ant. The extent of your journey is chosen by your own hand. The ripples on the pond call for a new stone. The divine is waiting for the gentle eyes to be provoked. Dawn, my friend, dawn. The love that you seek is an inkling when not seen from above. This life is a mirror and clouds your lens of life. Dawn, my friend, dawn. Alright guys, I feel like I'm gonna read two more. And then back to the talk we go. So this poem was written 03/01/14. It's called Changing Streets. Fathom movements made from light. Your timings will untime you. As words appear, words disappear. Greater lengths will be measured to be unmeasured. Depth and dimension shall keep their hands on your busy shoulders, for the step of man is witnessed by many. Inspire yourself, for you will be the first to see yourself. Complexity is a branch, but it is the simple roots that require watering. Extend your reach and give yourself brighter eyes. Repetition is what law was made to abide. Repeat anew and give what you have taken. Free your hands from the stench of doubt. It remains on palms that have forgot their grip. More and more hearts shall appear as eyes widen in the shrinking shade. The choice to write is also divine when many pages are left blank. For the trees that fall, fall for you. Nature is of a vastness that will change you. When the curious child is left in rooms made of screens, he will feel more weight, but one day the life in him will be seen. For roots gently walk in their light, and so do you, beloved being. There is no asphalt that may silence your voice. There is no other man that may pave, a you that you may not break. For the streets made for companies will be broken with seeds. Water your being, for the greatest sight of your vision has come from the light of your being. The next poem afterwards, 03/01/14. Renaissance of being. I think this is definitely a poem I need to brush up on. Renaissance of being. This is from the March series. Let your affairs lead to a great renaissance, for the brush draws more than color into a colorless world. Acquire your greatest hand, for what you draw draws from within. The design of the temple of the solemn grain comes from the heart that allowed to create. The design of the temple of the solemn grain come from the heart that allowed to create. We sit on the edge of chairs, imbalanced and long. The greatest work of art forever came from standing up. Look at life beyond doors made by other hands, for this work of art and passion is born with a single thought. This moment of existence has given me enough. Dwell inside, for your ideas hold ideas of their own. The mind works in ambient ways. When the sun glows, let it birth the beauty that nature unfolds. For with thinking, we will forever think too little. I'm not a poet, but a man who lives. Do I need words, or have they all been welcomed outside my head? And the word head is in quotations here. For where you see walls, I see fields filled with eternity. You too have seen this as well. For no being, N-O written with, like no is not, for no being cannot be where he exists. When the clothes come off, the dance begins. The only role model that broke my models come from nature's heart, for with each beat I felt the thickest grounds turn into blessed sky. May my words inspire your own, for without the thought of loneliness we are never alone. The whale is in our hands. What you choose is what you understand. Choose life and the sacred infinity. For the forms of now are the forms of now. Wake up. What you believe to be asleep, for the sentient will discover their breath part of the infinite being. The rose has bled each time you bleed, for the thorns you feel were also chosen by the fingers born to move. You are no little thing, for the universe is the ocean your drops of life have been waiting to be. For when the designer jumps into the great ocean, the designs he finds are designs the universe has chosen. So, in the chat section, Ivan says, Gurdjieff says, okay, so Ivan, when Gurdjieff says, but curls over a ball, that means he's seeing what's behind him. That means rather than it being a wall, he's seeing beyond the wall. Beyond the wall. Interesting. Ivan says Gurdjieff, he shares a Gurdjieff quote, be mirror to the light. I am familiar with Gurdjieff. I know that his methods were not conventional. He was kind of like on some level playing with people's minds, but at the same time, he saved a lot of people. I believe during the time of the Holocaust, like he was like an incredible human being in that angle, you know. I feel an incredible shift will happen to corporate culture, especially once automation uh, reaches the halfway point, where we human beings have lived on this planet with a focus on objective work more than subjective work. And as we see in history being the proof, we are moving to more of a subjective oriented existence. We used to be just dwelling animals in the forest. We stepped out of the jungle and we, in some sense, stepped into the concrete jungle. The concrete jungle was made by our own hands. So man began retaliating against the earth and conquering it. You know? Sorry, guys, just a second. I'm looking for something. I want to share with you this idea, but I got to check it before. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna. This is what I wanted to share this idea that people look at this earth as just land. They look at the Gaian mind to some degree as how can I tell you? For me, I honor the earth, but I honor it through the archetype of Athena. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Athena is this uh, here. Let me define it better. She is the daughter of Zeus, and she is the result of the Gaian mind. That means if I was to explain to you here, it's Athena is an ancient Greek goddess associated with wisdom, handicraft, and warfare. Okay, Okay, here we go. First was Kronos, chaos, and then came Gaia, Eros, Erebus, and Tartarus. And then from Gaia came Uranus, the mountains, and Pontus. And then from Uranus came Cyclops, Hercaton, Ceres, Kronos. Kronos plus Rhea. This is a different Kronos. This is Cronus. And then, oh no, no, this is the actual Kronos. Oh, this is a different Kronos. Okay. So guys, this is technically the god of chaos, which was Zeus's father. What I think Kronos is just the uh very interesting. I think there's a confusion. The guy who drew this confused something, I think. Kronos eats his children. Zeus kills his father, Kronos, and Athena steps out of Kronos' forehead. Okay? And Athena was uh, God, this diagram is terrible. Athena, I think Athena was Zeus' sister, no? Sorry guys, this is a bit oh no no, it's Zeus' daughter. There we go. Yeah, so the grandfather eats the grandchildren and Zeus, you know, the son sets them free. anyways, the reason I'm sharing it because it shows that instead of us thinking the earth is weak and we're destroying it, it's like looking at the earth as if a sort of warrior goddess, you know, and not in an image based, not in an artificial image based kind of way of engaging this idea, just the sense that it's mighty. That means I always wondered, how do the greatest warriors have the strength they do? And I realized because in their eyes they're standing in a greater stage. You know, there was this series called Vinland Saga, which I finally finished seeing. Somebody in the chat section had suggested it. I saw it, and it's an incredible story with an incredible ending. It's this Japanese comic series of this Japanese interpretation, fictional interpretation of the Vikings. In it, there is a character named Thors, which is the strongest, pretty much, warrior in the whole series. You know, that means the storyteller decided this is the strongest warrior, and this warrior goes into battle, and he is defeated through deceptive means. But he is behind his eyes, living in such an uh, it's as if this warrior defeats an army and he doesn't kill a single one of them, even though he gets killed at the end. And he says a true warrior doesn't need a sword. Pretty much that was inspired out of Sun Tzu, I feel. The Art of War. That book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. So when you have reached a mastery over the environment, you no longer need to demonstrate in the environment, and the psychology shifts from wanting something to realizing life is being something, and it moves in waves of how the day evokes or how the moment evokes or waves into being. So I don't know. I'm just saying that if you feel you're in a room of cowards, you will feel like a coward. If you feel you're among the great, then you will feel great. And that's the ethos that civilization is missing, you know? That we are this is a doomed system when the leadership is trying to see what the follower is saying, and the follower is trying to see what the leader is saying. And this is a doomed system. Why? Because they are both following each other, and it's doomed. It's a doomed system. Usually, how it would be is that in any sort of, just think about it. Think of it back in the day as if you were an emperor, okay, or you were a general on a battlefield. You would set up camp. You would create a headquarters, do you know? And then you would send scouts, and you would, in some sense, go see what else is there and expand your empire that way, right? So we need to build a civilization, but also increase its expansion. So the leadership should only, all the leaders in the world should be explorers. If the explorer, that quality of wanting to see the new is missing in leadership, then that's not leadership. That's just standing behind the barricades of the past. There we go, guys. That's Athena. All right, guys. This is. Let me find a better picture, actually. There we go. Perfect. Guys, I found something which is incredible to show. So, whoever's listening, just look at the wallpaper. Even Athena's telling you to look at it. Here, let's make this classy. So, guys, here it says there was chaos, which was before the birth of the universe. Then there was Uranus, god of the sky, and then Gaia, god of the land. And then there came the youngest son from the father's, Mother Earth and Father Sky. There came Kronos. There came Kronos and Rhea, and also Atlas. And then came the rest. So Kronos is the grandchild of Chaos, guys. Who knew? Who knew Chaos had a grandchild? Yeah. So that's the cool thing. The grandchild is not just pure chaos. It's chaos that is the child of order and chaos. So it's a chaos that is aware of, conscious of the order. So Chronos is consciousness. And I feel, yeah, Chronos is consciousness. And Rhea, Chronos' sister, is consciousness and matter, you know? That means Chronos went to his father, Rhea went to her mother. Anyways, guys, mythologies are fascinating because they are kind of amplifications of, they are like fractals for behavior. Their mythology, it's like you tell me the gods held a spear, the soldier would hold his spear stronger in the battlefield back in the day. Do you know what I mean? So it was as if it was the human idea stretched beyond its own expectation to catalyze it. You know. So Mohana, I'll tell you something interesting. If your child is bugging you to get a gun, your child's probably looking for a gun. You know, which is an intense situation. I would say sitting down and talking to your child, but I would say, here's the thing: tell your child there was this legendary warrior. If your child wants to know about warfare or is interested, at least tell your child to check the art of war. In the art of war, there's a statement where it's, I don't know, the imagery of it is something like just like the thing, the Vinland Saga thing. A true warrior doesn't need a sword. Sun Tzu says the great general defeats his opponent without raising his weapon, right? You know, the great warrior defeats his opponent without raising a weapon. So if you're smart, you don't need a weapon. You will be in a place where you won't even need it. It's as if it's like that's the clarity of the perception. But depends on what kind of neighborhood you're in. True. Do you know what I mean? So Mohana, I would say it depends on what neighborhood. If you're in a bad neighborhood, then I mean you got to think of it this way: the environment that a child is in is where it's getting the basic alphabet for its behavior. It's like what's in front of your eyes, that becomes real for you as a child, right? So if you're seeing like, if you're a young child seeing, you see people don't, I don't think people ever understood the rating of the system of movies. Let me tell you why they didn't understand it. People thought it's because of the gore, because of it's chaos. The issue is everything you see becomes an option in your mind. Now then you are left with your own discretion. So the first weapon that every person has, it's like, Mohana, I would playfully say, looking at your child and be like, we have a weapon, but it's behind our eyes. It's our mind. It's our ability to be alert and aware and to be in conditions where, we're not broken by our own ignorance. Um, yeah, guys. Sorry if there's extra noises. I mean, I'm kind of thinking, compare if I was recording this podcast back in the day, there would be too many. There would be like, you would hear swords. So sound. I don't know, guys. Sorry for the unnecessary noises like the coughs or whatever. They're not intentional. They kind of like, uh, you know, nature, guys. Just like the sound of that bird. It's like when you can hear my coughs and they sound like birds chirping. You're enlightened. I'm joking. I'm joking. I mean, vision has advanced forth, guys. We should value it. I think before people should work hard, they should work smart. When they come to work smart, they look at what is there. When they look at what is there, they see an underdeveloped system. That's it. That's it. The mind has an ability to see how something is behind and how something is forward, you know? That's it for Greek mythology, guys. You know, I'm telling you, language branches out of each other. Concepts are like nature, they're growing in the same field of attention. Study where your attention is, what your attention is, and even see if it's a concept. Like, I personally experience my nature in a way where it's not a concept to me. That means, whatever happens in this life, I know there's more than words and concepts and stories to look at. That means sometimes I think, is the regret of life missing out, or is the regret of life not seeing what was here while you were here? You know, that means it's I don't know. Nature is being nature before we can comment. They ask, imagine, you know, I say this story. There was this man. He finds an audience with the voice of the universe, with the creator, and he says, "Creator," and the creator's like, "What is it, man?" You know, and man says, "Why did you do this? Why did you create this? You know, why did you create this world? You know, why couldn't you make a world where there was no suffering from the beginning? You know, why couldn't you make a world where it was endless perfection to perfection to perfection? You know." And I poetically can say the creator in that moment, the God of that moment, would answer and say to that man, either the God would say, like, you know, "Hey man, give me a break. It's my first time trying this." You know, that was the first try, you know? But we'd be like, "Ah, you know, God's just learning how to create a world." Yeah. Or it would be where God would look at man, and after man says, "Why didn't you create a world going from perfection to perfection?" And God would say, "How do you know I didn't?" And that would be where karma eradicates. Where you realize that you only have karma if you have hands to hold the karma, you know? You know, there's this it's like a very complex mystical riddle, really. In the Diamond Sutra, there's a passage that says, "Keep your mind alive and free without abiding in anywhere or anything." So, how do you keep, like, if the concept of keeping is an action, you know, you're abiding by something in somewhere. So it's like it's a riddle. It's like they're telling you to reach somewhere without doing anything. That's the mystical riddle. And it's instantaneous. As Kabir says, how long does it take to get enlightened? And imagine he said enlightened minutes. I'm joking, I'm joking. Kabir says half of an instant. Every world is like, every day is like its own artwork. I'm not joking. Every day I wake up, there are the unknown variables appear differently because the known variables feel different. Life is kind of like your whole life you begin building this door, and once it's complete, you open it and you go through only to see that there is endless doorways to be made. And so the moment we think of ourselves as an eternal being, do you know what that means? That means there is no end. There has never been an end. There has never been an end when existence has continued so far. That means that's the cool thing, that even though there is a physical end to the human being, but I'm saying when you reach that end, you know that there is something that still is walking towards the unknown. And that's the most beautiful feeling. That as you close your eyes, you see the eyes of an open world marching towards an advanced unknown position. Because that's all it is. That's all life is. That means there was a time where I would have planned everything, and then I was like, that gets boring. Then you want to see how life moves. You know, you don't want to put the animal in the cage. You want to study the animal in its natural environment. That animal in a cage is not the real animal. The moment an animal is caged, it has been exposed to a humanized dimension of behavior. It's a wounded animal. Its mind is it's no longer a regular animal. It has seen something that it cannot see, like it can not see. You know. So what does that mean? That means the world is entering your eyes in the conscious waking state. And once the world enters your eyes, as if the light beam hits whatever is behind your eyes, and it bounces back as a conscious free will, as a free will in this conscious activity. And so I was like, it's very fascinating that I was thinking the ancient Egyptians that worshipped the sun, it's as if their metaphysics were hyper advanced, because so many people based the meaning of life on events in life, but not the light that allows those events to be there. You know, I think pretty much. I think like the ancient Egyptians were like, "Yo, what's this going in my eyes? Oh, it's the light that's giving a possibility for me to see a world. Maybe I should pay attention to." And can you imagine ancient Egyptians were sun worshippers and they had to build the pyramids? That means that means they were staring into the sun and building pyramids. That's intense. You know, it's kind of looking at every cruel incident in history and wondering, uh, what if there was a better? What if that person in that moment of history, whoever it was, could have just opened their eyes, could have instantly reset their view? And that's an ability to notice life as you're living it. So this is the end of the talk. Guys, there's not going to be a Q&A, but I'm going to set up the Discord for anybody interested. Last night I fell asleep, so I couldn't set the Discord. So right after this talk's pretty much at its end here. Um, I'm going to set the Discord up after this. So what can we say? We can say that the crown is a symbol of wisdom on Athena's head. The spear is a symbol of warfare. and the shield is a symbol of justice. And that means this archetype, this is the Terence McKenna spoke about an archaic revival. I feel this is the archetype of Athena is, as Terence would, you know, Terence McKenna would say, it's archaically reviving. The archaic revival, It's a fascinating concept, It's not just human beings that have habits. What if the whole planet is alive and it has habits that it's trying to break from? What if the planet had a habit of not creating sentience and then tried to break the habit? The planet did something new. And so human beings roamed the earth and built their spaceships to conquer beyond. You know what it is? You know what's cool? I think we have never been disconnected from the intelligence of the planet. And the planet actually wants us to go explore the universe because we are like the eyes of the planet. We're the eyes of the planet. That means, isn't it kind of poetic that, and imagine we go and colonize Mars? That's literally like if we were Earth, that's Earth getting to see what Mars looks like, you know? Nature is free before it could not be. Thanks for tuning in. Blessings. And before I go, guys, cherish your advanced vision, for God's sake.